Guys? The Bench Buddies are back, and I'm back with my MLB Power Rankings Week 17, and I'm currently doing this at nighttime on Monday, August 1st, so you will see some trades already in here, but we are less than 24 hours away from the trade deadline, so a lot of these teams will be looking different, especially by next week, but let's get into the video here, but actually hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you guys comment where you guys think your team should be, or who's moved up the most, who's moved down the least in your opinion. But now let's get into it here. And at 30, we got the Washington Nationals. Biggest question is Juan Soto. What is he going to do? Is he going to re-sign with the Nationals, accept their offer, or is he going to be dealt by tomorrow night? The big question here for the Nationals moving forward. Obviously, they have Josh Bell and Nelson Cruz that are more than likely better candidates to get dealt, as well as this team has been very bad this year. But they're 6-19 in July, which was absolutely terrible. Second worst in franchise history. Pitching just been atrocious. And this week, who they play? Division opponents who are looking for the playoffs. It's just gonna be another tough week for them. 29th, we have the Pirates dropping all the way down here, and there's not really much to report. 28th in almost every hitting stat. 2-12 in their last 14, and they're currently on a 7-game winning streak. And Brian Reynolds and Jose Quintana are probably the names you're going to hear coming from the Pirates organization in the next 24 hours, just because these are the guys that are more than likely to get dealt to contenders. But they got 6 games this week against some really good teams. 28th, we got the Oakland A's, and Frankie Montas and Trevino have been dealt to the Yankees. Sean Murphy, he's a trade candidate as well. He's kind of holding down the position right now. They got a lot of prospects to bring up at the catcher spot, so they might deal him with team control. Could get a good return there. But they've won 7 of their last 8 before they lost 2 straight to close the week, and this means they're playing in competitive games. So this Ace team, despite their record, has been playing some really good baseball as of late. 27th, we got my Tigers staying here. And finally, the Tigers have 2 players with double-digit home runs, while 25 other teams have 3 players at least 10, and I think 7 have at least, and I think there's like 7 teams with like 5 or more. I mean, it's just insane that the Tigers are here, struggling that much. But Riley Green with an E on the end of his name there has been the only bright spot since he's got called up, making great defensive plays, making an immediate impact. Obviously, he doesn't have much help right now around him, but he will be a piece for the future for sure. The Tigers 5-15 in the last 20, and they're last in MLBs with home run, obviously, because they can't hit any with 63 this year. The next closest has 79, and considering that the Tigers are 41-62, playing more than 100 games now, and they're averaging less than 1 home run a game, pretty bad, especially in this year's MLB. 26th, we have the Kansas City Royals. And all that we can really say here is, the young core, how are they going to develop? It looks like they're starting to figure things out, meshing together. Salvador Perez's return obviously is going to help that lineup and leadership. But coming from the pitching wise, Scott Barlow has been really the only reliable option, either in the rotation or bullpen. He's been the guy that's, kept this team down, especially in late inning situations or tough situations. He's been the guy that gets them out of that. 25th, we have the Cincinnati Reds moving up a few. They treated Luis Castillo as expected to the Mariners, and they got Novolte Marte, and that's a very solid return, getting him back, a very good prospect. And I would not be shocked to see him maybe make his debut possibly in September here, or, at worst, I think next year for sure. But if you take away their awful start to the year, they're 37-39, which is a crazy stat to think about, that this Reds team has been playing some really good baseball. But Tommy Pham, he just got dealt actually to Boston. So he is the one that got dealt. And now it's pretty much Brandon Drury. Is he going to be dealt? And it's more than likely. So he will be dealt to a contender. But Hunter Green, he's pitching right now. I believe it was the 5th inning last time I saw. He's absolutely dicing the Marlins right now. So, those K numbers are going to go up as well with those K9 too. 24th, we have the Angels, who are 6-18 in the last 24. Could Mike Trout be back this week? He's very optimistic about his back. Reports have came out that Shohei Ohtani is going to stay an Angel at least for the remainder of this year. But hey, you never know. I heard the Yankees made a pretty competitive package for him, but it just ended up not working out. And, at least they're going to put Ohtani and the Trout on the field, hopefully, soon together because, a lot of fans want to see that. But Reed Detmers, after throwing his no-hitter this year, kind of tanked, got demoted, and he came back up in July, beginning of July. And since then, he's been on a tear with a 1.13 ERA, 31 Ks, and 24 innings pitched. 23rd, we have the Cubs moving up. Wilson Contreras, the catcher's market is heating up. Expect him to get dealt to a contender. Obviously, now not the Astros because they got Christian Vasquez, but I think I could see him going to the Rays. I think that would just make the most sense for me. David Robertson and Michael Givens as well. They could get packaged in with a deal there. The Rays, always need some good bullpen arms, and they always have them, so that would make sense. But the rotation, hopefully they can get that back to full strength by mid-August. They've been the team that's been banged up, Stroman especially. Hendrick's still on the IL, but one of the bright spots I would say is their young hitters finally finding their way. And as a result, they're 7-3 in their last 10. But knowing that, they're probably going to, go on a 3-7 in their next 10 games because they have been one of the most inconsistent teams in baseball this year. 22nd, we have the Rockies dropping one, and that's just because they're 3-7 out of the All-Star break. CJ Cron, he might get dealt, but if you really want to talk about someone that should get dealt, that's going to be very underrated. It's Jose Iglesias. He's hitting 306, and expect him to go for a low price, but could be a good return for both sides. You get a prospect for a few years to come, and Iglesias, whoever he goes to, gets a contending good defensive shortstop that's absolutely hitting the crap out of the ball right now. 21st, we have the Diamondbacks. Not much to say here, except that Merrill Kelly has been really good in the month of July. And, it's Arizona. At least it's hot, so they're staying warm. 20th, we got the Miami Marlins. Same thing here. Sandy Alcantara, obviously been one of the best pitchers in baseball this year. But after that, it's just been hard to watch, especially for that rotation. Jesus Luzardo, he's finally back pitching tonight. But Max Meyer, obviously, he just got Tommy John surgery. And it's just been a whirlwind, just throwing arms in there for the Marlins. 19th, we have the Rangers. And an interesting stat that I saw is they're 44-44 against every team not named the Mariners. And if you add the Mariners, well, they're the record you see there, 46-55. They're 2-11 against the Mariners, not the best. And, I think it's they play 6 more games, I believe, 19 against division opponents right now before next year. So hopefully they can get that number up a little bit in their favor. And this is a sneaky team that I think could make a late push for the postseason if the AL stays very close as it is now. They do need to start picking things up here. I don't think they're going to make too many moves around the deadline, maybe none. But they're going to roll with the guys they got here, and this week is going to be a big week to see if they can contend with those teams. The Red Sox, they're making some moves as well. Vasquez got traded to Houston, and they brought in Pham from Cincinnati. They were trading Jake Dykman as well for Reese McGuire to the White Sox. And this team, they're just making these tiny moves, kind of going everywhere, maybe trying some new things, some in and outs, because I think they don't want to give up on this year, but they're going to make these little moves to benefit them for the long run. And if you want to talk about inconsistency, look at that first, point there, 20-6 in June. And then how did they follow that up with an 8-19 month in July? And, if you add that up, they're 28-25 in those 2 months, and that puts them right here at 500. 17th, we got the Giants, and I think this team is going to be a seller if, they decide to go that way. And I say that because Carlos Rendon, he has to opt out after this year. I don't think he would stay, even if, they go to the playoffs and whatnot. I think he's going to go somewhere else. On a positive note, Brandon Crawford, it looks like he's going to be rehabbing tomorrow. And, it's a good sign for a good leader on the team and a good bat in the lineup as well. The Orioles, they're staying put at 16. Not much going on here except Trey Mancini getting dealt to Houston. The fan favorite gets dealt to a very good team there. And, I'm just going to leave that thing up there that they're the surprising team floating around 500. No one really had those expectations coming in for the Orioles. Probably, right around a 60-win team, 60, 65 wins they were projected as. And here they are, 500 in the AL East in a very tough division. And maybe they'll sneak in. Who knows? But we're just going to have to wait and see. 15th, we got the White Sox, and it looks like they're starting to pick it up after a very slow start. 13-7 in their last 20. Only 2 games back for that division lead. And you can thank Jose Abreu. He's been very consistent at the plate. Luis Robert, he might be back from the IL tonight. I didn't check the lineup, but he could be starting tonight. If not, it's tomorrow for sure. Dylan Cease has been very solid on the mound, and I think they might add another arm. It might not be, this kind of ace hot starting pitcher market. They could get a low starting pitcher, throw a guy in there, and kind of see what they do. Just because I think they need a new arm in there and to give some of their guys some rest. 14th, we have the Guardians, and I'm only moving them up one because they're only one game back from the Twins in the AL Central. Could it be buyers or sellers? I think yes and no to both. I don't think they're going to give away too much, obviously, but they're not going to give up a lot for someone as well, just because they've got a really good shot at making the playoffs as it is right now. But if they do add something, it definitely be power because 28th in the MLB in home runs, and teams that are worse are obviously way worse with the Tigers and the Athletics. But they have 3 games against Arizona at home and 4 in Houston. And I think they could really go 5-2, maybe upset Houston a little bit and really kind of vault themselves into a prime position for the playoffs. 13th, we have those Twins, and tough week for them as Max Kepler and Miguel Sano land on the IL. They're probably going to add a piece or two at the deadline, especially just some veteran bats. But the question moving forward is are they going to be able to hold the AL Central lead from the White Sox and the Guardians for the rest of the year? Personally, I don't think so. I think that's going to come down to the last series even. But as long as they play my Tigers, I mean, it's not looking good. The Tigers have had their number this year, but Tigers are playing really bad, so expect them to probably get swept. And the Blue Jays, a very hot baseball team. I think that'll be a really good series this weekend. 12th, we have the Tampa Bay Rays dropping out of the top 10. And it's just because, well, I really don't know who's, being a good starter for them besides Shane McClanahan and Corey Kluber. After that, they're kind of lack some depth. And if they really want to make a move, I think they could go for a starting pitcher as well. Nothing too expensive, giving up the, system, but I just don't see how they're going to replicate a few years ago success. And especially with Warner and Kevin Kiermaier out, it's just going to be tough. I know they brought in David Peralta. He's a great bat, but he's no Juan Soto and, all these big names out, Andrew Benintendi at the deadline. But, the Rays do find the most in all these prospects and players they bring in. So expect it to be no one's surprise that, David Peralta is probably going to have a really good stint here with the Rays. Moving up one, we got the Cardinals. They're 3 games back from the Brewers in the NL Central. And I just think it's going to be very close to the last week as well. Yadi, he should be back tomorrow on Tuesday. And I think they'll be adding a starting pitching arm as well after Steven Matz went down last week with that, surgery. And he's done for the year and a lot of next year as well. So they could get a piece, not just for this year, but for next year control as well. Carlos Rondon would really fit that. Starting our top 10, we got the Mariners staying put. They're 1-6 versus Houston out of the All-Star break. And, what's to blame? They're not that good against Houston this year so far. But if you look at those last 35, including those games, they're 26-9. And if you take away Houston, they're 25-3 in their last 28, not playing Houston. So this team just needs to get away from Houston and just figure things out. And obviously, now that they brought in Castillo, I mean, that's exactly what they need. The longest playoff drought in all major sports history in 2001. The Mariners are looking primed to get rid of that drought this year. Vaulting up 4 spots to the top 10, we got the Philadelphia Phillies coming in at 9 here. And I got to leave the one of the most inconsistent teams in the MLB because it seems like a few weeks ago they were losing 6 in a row or losing 4 in a row. And then here they are winning 5 in a row. But, when they get Bryce Harper back, obviously it's going to be a huge return for them soon. Kyle Schwarber, he's massing. Alec Boehm, he's getting hot. I mean, absolutely tearing the cover off the ball in July with a 434 average. And they only play 6 this week, 2 in Atlanta, which will be a very good short series, and 4 against Washington, which I expect them to take 3 of. Padres moving up 1 as well. Tatis, he's looking like he's coming back here early next week, possibly late week, middle of August. It's coming there. Mackenzie Gore had a slight scare. They're shutting him down for a few weeks. Not to, overdo it. He's a young arm. And yes, you're reading that right. They brought in Josh Hader, an absolute electric arm out of the pen for Taylor Rogers, Danielson Lamont, and 2 prospects. And today they also extended Joe Musgrove for 5 years, $100 million. Ever since they brought him over from the Pirates, he's been an absolute ace through the franchise's first no-hitter, and he deserves it. I mean, he's having a really good year. But on a negative note, they are 12 games back from the Dodgers still for the NL West lead. And if they really want to win that NL West, they're going to have to, take all three from the Dodgers this weekend, as well as at least win 4 out of 5 against Colorado because, Dodgers are showing no signs of slowing down. Seventh, we have the Brewers dropping one here. They're 7-2 in their last 9. Yes, I'm still dropping them here. They have that 3-game lead on the Cardinals for the NL Central, and it's going to come down to, I think, the last series whenever they play. I don't know the exact date, but I'm sure they play each other in those last few weeks, and it's going to decide the division personally. Rotation, that's been really good. Hitting, not so much, and I think they could add another bat to their team before that deadline is over. And they have a fairly easy week if you look on paper, playing, 2 of the bottom 5 teams in the MLB. Sixth, we have the Blue Jays moving up 1, and it's just because they've been hotter than the Brewers. They're 12-3 in their last 15. Alek Manoah had a scare after getting a liner back on his arm, but he's okay. He should be good for his next start with that 2.43 ERA, 114 Ks. Berrios, he's been pitching better. Absolutely dealt against the Tigers yesterday. But if they want to get rid of someone, I think it's going to be the catcher position. Danny Jansen looks like the guy that would get dealt, as they have Alejandro Kirk having a great year, and Gabriel Moreno, he is the next up and coming. So Danny Jansen is kind of the odd guy out, and he could be dealt to a team for a low price for a catcher. And other than that, I really don't know if they're going to add too much now, especially with Montas and Castillo off the market. They were looking for starting pitching to bring in, but that's not going to happen. But they have 6 games this week against some good teams, and I expect, them to have good games. Starting the top 5, we have the Braves staying put here. 9-4 in their last 13, and some big news coming from the Braves today. Austin Riley got extended for 10 years, $212 million, almost 21 point something million a year. Austin Riley, talk about him. Could he win MVP this year as well? I mean, he's having an excellent season. Robinson Cano, he got DFA'd. So he's pretty much out of the door as they traded today. I can't remember the guy's name, but they brought in a second baseman, a journeyman. And Ozzie Albies, he's trending towards middle August to, maybe late August, the latest return. And I think that's a great sign there for the Braves. They have 7 games this week, all against divisional opponents, good divisional opponents. And it's going to be a tough 5-game series for the Mets. In New York, the Braves really need to go in there and at least take 3. Fourth, we have the Yankees, and this team seemed like they were never going to fall out of that number 1 spot. And here they are, falling all the way to 4th again. And that's mostly in part to just all these teams ahead of them, really picking it up here. But I expect them to, maybe move up at least 1 next week after they got Montas, Lou Trevino, and Scott Elfrost from the Cubs. I mean, bringing in road pitching, I guess you could say, weak spot of the team. And they addressed it early, got their guys with their good farm system. And here they are, dealing with these guys. Montas, I think, is going to be the obviously biggest name that you're going to hear and kind of scrutinize or praise how that deal works out. But Aaron Judge, he hit another home run tonight, so it's 43 home runs. And he, could be on pace for 70. I think it was 65 I saw. So if he keeps hitting home runs, I really want to see him hit 70. That'd be cool. Are they going to add anyone else since we're talking about the deadline? I don't think so. I think they're done now. Honestly, they missed out on Ohtani. They had a good offer for him, didn't get him. And I think they're going to be very happy with their deadline so far. And don't forget that they added Benintendi last week. Third, we have the Mets. And this is a team that hasn't done anything at the deadline yet, which is kind of shocking, other than Vogelback from the Pirates a few weeks ago. But other than that, they haven't really made any big splashes yet. Besides Naquin as well too, but they haven't made any big splashes compared to those Yankees. But DeGrom, that's the big news for the Mets for this week. He is back tomorrow against the Nationals, and I expect him, not to overwork it 80, 90 pitches. I think he will come in, throw 4 or 5 innings, have a good start like he normally does, and just build him up towards the postseason, because it's pretty much a lock for this Mets team to get there at this point. With that 64-37 record, I really think this team is probably on pace for 100 wins for sure, maybe 105. But this Mets team, it's good to see them, competing again. Second, we have the Astros staying put, and they're 8-4 out of the All-Star break. And what do? They're bringing in first baseman Trey Mancini / outfielder, the Baltimore favorite. I think that's a great addition there. Give him some depth at both positions. And they're bringing in Christian Vasquez. And it seems like for the last however many years, the Astros have always dealt for a catcher at the deadline just to bring in one, just to get the veteran presence in there, in the leader room, or in the catcher's room, and, give confidence to those pitchers. Jordan obviously having a great year, career year. And could he win the MVP? At this point, unfortunately, in a lot of other years, yeah, he probably would. But Judge is just having one of those freakishly good years that you kind of have to give it to him at this point. Unless he gets hurt, it's kind of Judge's to lose. And at one, we have the Dodgers staying put. Their eighth time being up here, and they need one more to tie the Yankees. They're 8-3 out of the All-Star break, a 12-game lead on the Padres in the NOS, top three team in almost every stat. Chris Taylor, Blake Trinan, Dustin May, could they be back this week? I don't know. This team just seems like they're reloading every time. And if they really want, they probably could go get Soto and give up some guys and make this team even better. I mean, just imagine an outfield with Mookie Betts, Cody Bellinger, and Juan Soto. I mean, three electric bats, great outfielders as well. And I mean, I wouldn't want to face that lineup, that's for sure. And that's not, mentioning Freddie Freeman, Trey Turner, Justin Turner, Will Smith, and Chris Taylor. Fully healthy, it's a very scary 1 through 9. But they do have a little bit of a test this week, 4 in San Francisco and 3 against those Padres, who are looking to catch up on the Dodgers here. But that's going to be it for the video today. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. Get us up. I was going to do the giveaway at 500, but let's do it at 200. I think that's more reachable. We got to get there first. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.